have my friend Dr. Jennifer Gramith in the classroom, and I know all of you just absolutely adore her. And as we're getting garbled into the algorithms, I need for you to text, tag, call, email, do whatever you can. Share the video that's, in the bottom, like below, there's a little share it on your pages, share it on your home page, start a watch party, because we're going to talk about the supplements that you can use during your cancer treatments and rehabilitation. So I am going to hit the record button before Robert says, you need to hit the record button. Okay, guys. So today we are going to learn a lot about supplements. Make sure that you type in your Q, write your questions down after that, because we're going to have a very small Teacher's Pet Corner. So fasten your seatbelt. It's time to get in the moment. That's why we dance, and it's time to learn together. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative and natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today, as always, we look forward to when Dr. Jennifer Gramith of Rightway Health and Wellness comes into the classroom, because she's like my inspector, my female Inspector Gadget. She always comes with little tools. She always has some wonderful solutions that are either things that we could do ourselves or maybe reach out to her. We've done the gallbladder, liver cleanse with Dr. Gramith. We have learned about EVOX. We've learned about ZYTO. We've learned about how to take your health back. And so today we're going to continue, and let me mention lymphatics. We've learned about our lymphatic system as well, because Dr. Gramith, Dr. Jen is a lymphatic expert who trains other people who do the modality for others. And so with that in mind, I asked Dr. Jen last month to talk about her main mission and purpose, which is her passion is cancer and helping people reverse their body from the toxins or illness or whatever it is that they're going through, so that they can thrive. Mm-hmm. We never really got to certain parts like supplementation. So if you want to watch first part, you can catch it. You can watch it on Facebook, YouTube. I don't think we were on YouTube at the time, but for sure, BitChute and Odyssey. So make sure that you take the first part, watch it if you want to watch it. And then this is part 2 of how to reverse and treat your body when your body needs more. And I don't even want to say the C word, because when I say the C word, they might say, ooh, can't say that. So with that in mind, I am just grateful, because it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. And I am grateful that Dr. Jennifer Gramith is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Gramith, to the classroom.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just honored to be here again today, and especially talking about this, because I think it's important that people are educated on their options and what they can do. And, if you have all the options out there, you can make an educated decision about your health. There are so many clients, get a diagnosis and they're in a panic and they just do whatever they're told to do. And it's many times not the right decision. I mean, they're so panicked, they don't even get a second opinion or a third opinion. They just go with that and many times live or do not live to regret it. So I want to talk today about the products that are very similar to some of the treatments without this toxicity level of the normal allopathic treatments. That's not to say that there's not a place and time for that, but it's not the first step. It should not be the first step in your protocol, in your path to recovery. So one thing I do want to say is that, if you have had a diagnosis or you have a current diagnosis, then make sure that you're working with a naturopath or a functional practitioner. Don't try to figure all this stuff out on your own. Of course, definitely do the research yourself. I think the Bible says, study to show thyself approved. You have to take that same concept with your health and nutrition. You have to research it. You have to study it. You have to be confident that you're making the right decisions and use these healthcare professionals as a tool for you to get that information you need to make the right decision for you and your family. So I just wanted to make sure to put that out there.
Yeah, and that is well said, because when you talk about and I call it the white coat trance.
Right.
It's that we hear and obey. We hear and obey. And fear is a way to get us out of our frontal lobe, our thinking brain, into our limbic, which is our reptilian, where you're just trying to survive and you do whatever it takes. And when you trust somebody and they say, you need to do, this is what you need to do, with how many rounds you need to do it with, and they might even go as far as saying, if you don't do it, you will die.
Right.
So let's further injure you by planting the seed of death and breathing death onto you. So with that in mind, with you never, ever say that. So let's start with hope. For anyone out there that is feeling that there's no hope for them, what would you say first?
Well, I say this over and over again, almost every day. Where there is a cure is where you have to find the cause. So if you just are going for treatment and you still don't know what caused your cancer, it's probably not the right treatment for you because you've not identified. So, and if you want to have a cure for your cancer, no matter or whatever chronic disease, you got to find out the cause first. And so that's where the hope is. If you can find out what caused the cancer, you can stop that process from progressing. And there's, you hear, Lillian, I know you hear it, I hear it, as doctors will say, well, there's no research behind any of the alternative, the nutrients, and that can be so far from the truth. Just with one product called B17 or Laetrile, you've all heard of. I mean, it's a little apricot seed. I keep them on my desk and I try to chew up about 3 or 4 a day, and that's a cheap way to get your B17. But studies started back in 1972 with that at Sloan Kettering. And so from 1972, they did a study to 1977, and it was remarkable how it stopped the progression of the disease process. It also helped with the pain that was caused by the cancer in many cases. And so the way that it helped with the cancer stopped the metastasis in the tumor growth. And so that's why you do certain chemotherapy agents, right? You do it to stop the progression and the tumor growth and hopefully stop the metastasis. That was the goal. But with a lot of the chemotherapy agents out there, it may initially, but then it turns on the circulating tumor cells and it guarantees the secondary cancer. So maybe that's not the first step that you need to go in. Now, there are cases that they're so severe and there's pressure upon a vital organ that is the only thing that you can do to shrink it fast enough in order to, keep your heart pumping or your lungs from collapsing, so there are cases, don't take that as an all in all, but that should never be the first treatment steps. And that's what it is. And you think that you're going into the oncologist and he's just designing this amazing protocol specifically for you. And that's not true. It's just a general standard protocol. And they're trying this chemo agent for these types of cancers. And it doesn't matter the demographics or your condition or your other conditions. It's just, that's what they use. That's what they use for, lung cancer. That's what they use for triple negative breast cancer. And they're just trying it out. So it's not specially, designed for you, like so many people think. And that's what I love about the natural supplements like Laetrile or Graviola, or, there's so many of them, is that you can get tested to see which ones work for your type of cancer. Just like if you had a urinary tract infection, we would culture your urine and we would give you an antibiotic that would kill that bacteria, right? Well, we don't do that in allopathic medicine here in the States. They do that in other countries, and that's where the grease test came. Is very popular to do, and I highly recommend it.
Can you talk a little bit about the Greek? We talked about the Greek test before in part one, but just for people that are tuning in today and haven't heard part one about the Greek test.
Yeah, so it's grease test. Yeah, so the grease test is a test where they actually take your blood and they test it against the different types of chemo agents against your circulating tumor cells. So what kills your cells? So they check the chemo agents and all the natural agents, and then they give you a graph of how they test it out. So you will pick from the columns that tested extremely high and beneficial at shutting off the blood supply to the tumor. So they look at the anti-angiogenesis factor, shutting down the proliferation of the cancer cells or the tumors. So all the things. So sometimes chemo will test positive, and we will use that in like IPT therapy, a low dose chemo, along with the natural. But many, many times the natural will test higher than the chemo agent to be more successful. And so wouldn't you want to know what's going to work for you instead of just guessing? Well, I sure would. And that's why I do that with my clients. So I do the ZYTO and I test against all the different agents with biofeedback. We do the grease test if they're able to. And usually my biofeedback and the grease test, they agree. They're just right on track with one another. So, but I definitely like to have the blood tested now. Well, I just said, go ahead.
It's just amazing that this test exists, and it's existed for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that instead of doing this, or maybe having the insurance company pay for it, I don't know if the insurance company pays for it at all, mm-hmm. but instead of pushing for this to be a standard testing for cancer, because everybody that I've spoken to that has chosen the allopathic approach through chemo, mm-hmm. have said that first round, that second round, that different kind of chemo almost killed me. Mm-hmm. But then we got to the fourth one, or the fourth attempt. I said, no more. They could have eliminated all of that. You're no longer the guinea pig. Yes, it may cost, but it won't cost your life, because many people the side effect of it is death. The actual treatment kills the person.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, why hasn't this been approved by the insurance companies for everybody to test, not just with chemo, but as also the natural agents? And what are some of those natural agents that act as better than chemo?
Same as chemo, or better than chemo, because it doesn't have the side effects.
Correct.
So yeah, you're exactly right. So, that's the $1 million question. It's why, and it's probably that it tests for chemo and it tests for the natural. And in our, medicine model, natural just doesn't have a place for, they don't have a place for natural. They're just really stuck in on chemotherapy treatments. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. And you just really have to, again, become your own detective and look, get the information that you need and figure out what's best for you. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that because knowing that with each dose of your chemotherapy agent, each time they give you chemotherapy, your body becomes more resistant to the chemotherapy. And so it's less likely to be effective. Well, so I don't want to go through 2 or 3 different chemos before I find the chemo that actually helps knock down my cancer numbers, because by then it may not be effective because I've built up a resistance to it. So that's very important information people need to know. So definitely, if you can afford it, get the testing. The Greece test runs about $2,500 to $3,500. But if you're considering chemotherapy, then make sure you get the right chemotherapy for you.
Or treatment, or any kind of treatment,
Right,
because if it's also treating for natural approach, a natural approach to alleviating the body from whatever needs to be balanced out, then I mean, it's worth it. It really is, because like I said, the first chemo almost killed him. Second chemo almost killed him. Third chemo almost killed him. But it's like how many almost kill? I mean, we're not cats. We don't have that many lives. So we want to make sure that we use up as little lives as possible so that we can thrive after this. So what are some of those other agents that are natural? Because I know that when you say that chemo, we're talking about a homeopathic dose, which is 1/10 of what they would use.
Right.
Okay, so explain a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
so that's IPT therapy, insulin potentiation therapy, where they actually use a glucose molecule, it's kind of like a Trojan horse. So they put a little bit of chemo into this glucose molecule. Well, we all know that cancer loves sugar, so it sucks it in and it kills the cancer from the inside out. So it only kills cancer cells, not healthy cells. Okay. So they have gotten better. I will over time with the chemo from back, 25 years ago when I worked in the field of oncology, about being more direct, not killing as many cells, but it's still a very toxic treatment. And if there are alternatives that work for you, that's, where I would look to first. But again, it doesn't matter how many treatments you get of IPT therapy or chemotherapy or even natural if you don't know what caused it. And so if you're not treating the cause, chemo doesn't treat the cause. It treats the lump and the bump. Okay, that's all. It doesn't treat those circulating tumor cells that cause metastasis. And so there are some new tests out there. There's one called Biocept that you can ask for with your oncologist. It's a cerebral spinal test where they draw a little bit of spinal fluid and it can tell you if there's any active cancer in the body. It's very sensitive. There's it's called a liquid biopsy. There's a blood test that looks for those circulating tumor cells. They do that in the Greece test. And so, these are tests. I just had a case just this week where, they went into the doctor and was told that they were pretty much in remission. And then 8 months later, it's tripled in size in the lungs. And so they weren't monitoring it with these types of tests. And so you got to know where your inflammation markers are. And we talked about this before. And so these are tests that you can have done through your oncologist with your insurance, paying for it, staying on top of what your levels are so that if any, there's any progression of the disease process in your body. Because once you have cancer, you're always prone to a reoccurrence. It's very easy to come back if you go back to the same lifestyle that you lived. Okay, so it's guaranteed it will come back if you go back to that lifestyle. Argentin is another thing, because a lot of these cancers are due to infection. And so you have these, stealth infections in your body. You have on and off fevers. You feel fatigued. You don't know what's wrong. A lot of times it can be caused from infection. So things like Argentin, which is a silver supplement, really helps with that. And so that's another thing that we test people on, that will knock down your bacteria, your viruses, has an adverse effect on the cancer cells that are already circulating. So those are just a couple of them.
I love Argentin. I had the privilege of meeting, I was at an event where they had a booth there, and they gave me this big bottle, and I was like, yay! I was so excited. They actually came on the show as well to talk about it. But the sister company of that is what is it called? It's something silver.
Smart silver.
No, I'll think about it.
Colloidal silver, maybe. Colloidal silver.
It is colloidal silver, but there's a brand that is part of their, and I have some sprays.
Seth is, what is his name? Seth is the main guy of Argentin. Yeah.
Yes.
I really like that one the best. And I have it in the spray. We nebulize it. You're going to be doing a class on mold and mycotoxins. And that's one of the things that I use for that, because a lot of cancers are caused from mold and mycotoxins. And so you got to look at that too. You got to look at that burden on their body.
So let's take a little pause here now that Dr. Jen talked about mold. As you know, we're doing the M cubed detox experience. And this is for mold, metals, as well as microbes. And it's from treatment to recovery with support. And so it's a 12-week program that starts on September 20th and ends on December 6th. There's going to be a 10-week period where we're going to be doing a detox process. And every Tuesday night, we have a wonderful guest speaker, Dr. Lee Cowden, who is Dr. Jen's mentor, will be my co-host during this event. He will probably be taking over because it's just like, if we want to hear from him. And then we'll have guest speakers. These are world-renowned experts, including Dr. Jen. She is going to be speaking at this event on October 18th. And this is all virtual. So if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, you can click on the pop-up for the M cubed detox experience and learn a little bit more about it. But we're going to do everything we possibly can to remove. I mean, can mold in the body, Dr. Jen, and metals and microbes. I'm just beginning to learn about microbes here, but can they manifest into cancer? I mean, can it keep cancer from getting better? How does that work?
Both. So most definitely, it does turn into cancer. It can turn into cancer. Doug Kaufman, I don't know if you've ever met him.
He's coming on. He's one of the speakers. Doug Kaufman is one of the speakers. Yes.
So you'll learn a lot about the fungi and the molds and the mycotoxins that are linked to cancer. I mean, there's been masses that have been removed, and that's exactly what it is. It's your body trying to encapsulate, this toxin. It's trying to protect you, but it forms this mass until the immune system is able to identify it and destroy it, which in many times, people have such a compromised lymphatic system. It's so congested. That's the system that carries their immune system. Well, then the immune system is inactive. It's not functioning like it should be. And the cancer has the ability to just continue to metastasize and grow. And so, I'd most definitely think that. And then if a person is already sick with cancer caused from maybe, a chemical toxicity or an emotional thing, and they have exposures to mold, like they live in a mold house, they can't get well. You cannot get well in that environment. And so I see this with Lyme patients, with cancer patients, with any chronic illness. if they are living in mold and mycotoxin environment, it doesn't matter what you do, they stay sick. And so you got to get them out of that environment.
Yeah, and we were exposed to mold in our house in Cocoa, and then we were exposed to mold again in our condo before we lived here. The garage was full of it, and I never even thought that could affect me in any way, or that it could remain, when you eat well and you just think, okay, I'm superwoman, it's not going to affect me. Well, now it's personal. And I'm so grateful that all these wonderful experts have come together to help, not just me and my husband, Robert, but all of us to go through this journey together. So I'm so excited about it. And we just booked Dr. Jen because she is that busy. And she's going to be talking about her techniques and what she does in her clinic, as well as the emotional component that she uses to help. So I'm excited about that. So to continue with the conversation, she talked about Laetrile B17, which is a organic apricot seed. And then Argentin, and I think it's called Sovereign Silver.
Oh, Sovereign Silver. Yep.
Yeah.
I have that too.
I knew I would remember because I remember everything. I manifested. Okay. So then the next thing on your list, you have Aroma Ace, PN Artemisinin. I'm so glad you're the expert.
So that's just another type of anti-parasitic. So there's parasites that are connected with cancer. I see that all the time, especially, colon cancers, but it doesn't have to be. It could be non-Hodgkin's lymphoma types of cancer. We all have parasites in our body. And so that's why it's so important that we do parasite cleanses periodically. It doesn't mean you need to stay on wormwood or black walnuts. You shouldn't. You should do it for a period of time, cleanse the body, and then allow the body time to rest. And recover. And so, but that should become a part of our yearly, lifestyle changes. So you go on vacation for a week every year to rest and rejuvenate. You need to cleanse your body so that it can rejuvenate itself. And so parasites cleanse are critical.
Okay. So you said wormwood, and believe it or not, I have wormwood bark. Yeah.
Okay.
And so can a tea, doing wormwood tea, can you do that with the bark and it help with the parasites?
Most definitely. Yeah. Most of these have a combination of wormwood and clove and black walnut, but you can, pick and choose. I actually love the I think it's Systemic Formulas. I can't remember the exact company name, but it's the VRM 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is that something you have in your
I have it in my office? Yeah.
Okay. So you can go to shoprightwayhealth.com. Shoprightwayhealth.com. Okay, go ahead.
So the VRM1 is for large parasites, tapeworms, things that you're going to pass in your stool. And then, VRM2 is more for the smaller parasites. VRM3 is microscopic. And then the VRM4 is the cellular parasites. And so you go through that whole program of all 4 parasite cleanse once a year. That's a great way to get rid of those parasites. Adrenal exhaustion can be caused from parasites. Every chronic and acute illness that you have can be caused from parasites and molds and mycotoxins and fungus. So,
wow.
But we got to know what we're dealing with. We got to know what has caused this discord or this imbalance in your body. And you got to work with that. Sometimes it's viral, sometimes it's parasitic, sometimes it's bacteria, sometimes it's a combination of all of those. And
everybody's so different. You're just like
different.
Yeah, that's why I call you Inspector Gadget. That's because you really have to use all your tools to figure out what to give.
Right.
So what else do you have in your bag of goodies?
One of my favorite things for brain cancer is the Benagine, and that's a great compound that really helps at a cellular level for ATP, but I think they've done like 5 to 10 trials on it for brain cancer. and it would stop the tumor growth, but it also helped to trigger pathways too for new brain, like brain retraining. And so people who would lose certain functions after, brain surgery from scar tissue in the brain actually could regain those back. So even if you don't use it to treat, the brain cancer, you can actually, brain injury can be used. You can use Benagine for that.
Really?
So now look up that. I think they have like 10 patents on the product. And I know that they did at least 5 clinical trials on it. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much information and science backed behind a lot of these supplements. So when your doctor, tells you, hey, there's no science, it's just because they have not looked themselves. So, they may be telling you that they haven't seen any science, but because they haven't looked, but the science is there. Sloan Kettering, all the major medical schools, Emory does studies. I mean, they all do them, and
They suppress it.
Yeah,
and it's all suppressed. So with the Benagine, can you use it for cognitive decline, dementia, or is this for cancer only?
No, it's not it's for any kind of brain injury, but it has been known mostly for its effectiveness in brain cancer. But yeah, I think you could actually use it for, other types of dementia, Alzheimer's, neurological diseases and disorders.
And of course, this is not a once pill fits all. This is not saying that if you have been diagnosed with a disease or a symptom that they diagnose as a disease, that's all you have to do. It's a spirit, mind, and body approach, right, Dr.
Right.
Jen?
Yeah. And it's never just one product, so it's not just that, oh, I was deficient in this one thing and I take that and all's good. You're very complex. Cancer is a very complex illness. And so just like with, trying to heal the body of the molds and mycotoxins, once you identify the cause of the disease process, you just have to kind of walk back through that disease process. And so you have to, if you have high levels of bacteria or molds and mycotoxins and high levels of heavy metals, well, you can't get rid of the molds and mycotoxins until you remove those metals. They block your detox pathways. And so you can't get rid of it. And so many doctors will throw antimicrobials at you, and you may feel a little bit better short term, but you can't get rid of it. And so it just keeps coming back. And so there's a process of elimination and detoxification that each person has to go through, and it's different. So again, it's a journey that you really have to understand, that you just have to, take out one splinter at a time, and you got to take them out in the right order for it to be effective. That's why I say work with a great functional practitioner that knows these things and how to best detox that person sitting in front of them, by looking at all of the information, looking at all the labs, all the biofeedback, all the scans, because knowledge is power. And then, if you're on the right path, if you're not monitoring yourself, you don't know that, eating these apricot seeds, that it's doing any good, because I haven't tested to see if my cancer markers are down or if my tumor has shrunk. So you need to continue checking and testing so that you know that you're on the right path and that something doesn't need to be adjusted. I will tell you, Lily, that when you're on that cancer journey, your protocol should be changing almost monthly, because you have to hit it. Just like with chemotherapy, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, your body builds a resistance to it. It will build a resistance to these natural things as well. It's not as damaging to the body, but your body is really intelligent. And so after so long, it says, oh, I don't need that anymore. And then it's not effective. And so you have to keep hitting it at different levels. So
You know, when one of the reasons we became so overwhelmed when we were told that this was the possibility because we haven't tested, it's not been official, but we've been exposed. We know that it just makes sense. No one's ever said, you know, this could be mold, this could be metals. But when we're looking at Dr. Lee's protocol, and I'm sure that your protocols are very similar, you cannot eat the same thing every day. And then yesterday we had Dr. Michelle in the classroom, where she also said that the body is constantly trying to repair, and if it thinks that it's, you know, a foreign object, it's sending these bacteria and to help repair the body. And so by alternating your vitamins, by alternating your protocols, does that keep the body balanced and saying, oh, this is not dangerous, we don't need to release the cytokine storm on you? So is that why you do it?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, it's just that with whether it's food or supplements or medication, if you take the same thing long enough, your body will build up a resistance to it. And that's how your, you know, immune system works. And so you do have to change things up. And that's why you shouldn't eat oatmeal every morning, you know, every day of your life, because you'll notice that you know, now I'm having arthritic pain and wondering why people are not putting the connections. But I've been eating oatmeal my whole life every morning. Well, now if you were tested, it would say oatmeal causes inflammation in you. You're very allergic to it now, but yet you still eat it because you don't put the 2 and 2 together.
Amazing. And so I know that on September 1st, you're going to be starting your Dr. Jen's gut repair program. So this goes in line with all of that we're talking about right now. So there's several options. If you want to repair your gut, or if you think you have mold and all those metals, or there's so many different options that you have, that to do nothing is insane. To do nothing is to just keep assaulting your body. So what else do you have in your little bag?
So a lot of people are taking or heard of berberine, which, you know, is something, as far as allopathic medicine, doctors are prescribing metformin. Okay. Well, berberine studies compared to metformin, berberine works even better without any of the side effects of it. And so that's something you'll see a lot of times show up as a, you know, very effective supplement for a person on the cancer journey, because their blood sugar levels are going up and down. And if your blood sugar levels are spiking, if your blood sugar level fasting in the morning is above 95, you're feeding your cancer cells in the body. So you can't expect to, you know, heal from cancer if you're feeding it. So that's an easy way anyone can monitor themselves at home, is to check their fasting blood glucose every morning. Make sure it's below 95, ideally between 75 and 85 fasting. And then you're not feeding inflammation and cancer cells in the body. And so that's, and then you don't need berberine. But if you can't get it down and you've changed all your diet, it may be stress related. Maybe all the stress that is in your life that's spiking that insulin and causing your glucose numbers to go up. And so you could use it for that. But it would take the place, or it's equivalent to metformin.
Amazing. And metformin has some incredible side effects.
Yeah.
I was put on metformin a long time ago because the doctor thought I was insulin resistant, or I had insulin resistance. And I started getting really, really sick. My blood sugar level fasting was like at 70 or 60. It was really low. It was not, or something like that. It was not dangerous at all, but he puts me on this, and I was on it for 2 years. This was back then when I heard and obey, you know. I'm alive today because of the classroom. And I'm going to just say, I want to encourage all of you, go to whenyounneedafriend.com. Please subscribe to the classroom. If you're a subscriber and this is the first time you've heard Dr. Jen, you are already linked to her. So, and you have all her information right behind me in the classroom here, because you can call her at 404-774-2100. You can find her at Rightway Health and Wellness.com. And if you want to buy any of the products that, or have any of the services that they offer, you can put in Lily 20. And if it's your first time, that you get a 20% off your first order. And if you want to be a part of the Dr. Jen's gut repair program, then you can enter Lily 20. They also get 20% off, right? Is that true?
Yep, that's true.
I want to make sure.
Yep.
And so I want to make sure that you like and follow us at whenyouneedafriend.com, social media. Please share this video with your friends. That way people will know that there's alternatives, that they don't have to choose the one path only, that not one size fits all. And so please share this video and all the videos with Dr. Jen, and any one that you feel can help somebody else grow. We have the Shop Now bag. We have not supplements, we have things that supplement your health, such as spirituality, makeup, exercise, things to make you, anything that will help you, spirit, mind, and body. These are all Lily approved. And last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. We cannot do this without you. We need your support. As you know, the algorithms are just killing us, but because of you, we are still thriving. So spirit, mind, and body, time, talent, treasure, whether it's $1, $1,000 a month, or a one-time donation, please do whatever you can to donate. As I mentioned at the beginning, Dr. Jennifer Gramith, you can find her at Rightway Health and Wellness. She's in Georgia. I've known of some of our listeners that have driven to Georgia from other places because they didn't want to do a telemedicine call. They wanted to see them in person. And so there's just so many different ways that you can take your health back. And I hope that this is a part of you starting to feel hopeful. Because if a doctor says that there's no research, chances are he didn't read, he didn't look for it, and he just doesn't know. And that's a way to be right with his ego. And the second thing, if you hear from your doctor, is that there's no hope, there's no cure, you probably have 3 months to live, fire your doctor, because he's actually telling you he has no clue how to help you. So those are some things that you rewrite the program. And by the way, this weekend we have the workshop, the I Am the Solution workshop, which we also use to rewrite the program, and so that you can start hearing through godly eyes, or seeing through godly eyes and godly ears. So today we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith. We're learning about supplements that help the body with people that have a deficiency that they might call cancer. So what are the other things in your goodie bag?
Well, so going back to burrowing too, I think you had asked me about doing a genetic talk. And so, berberine actually works to block the mTOR.
The MTHFR?
expression. Yeah, no, mTOR, mTOR.
Oh, okay.
That is, that is the rapamycin protein that, causes you to develop more and more cancer at a faster rate.
Oh,
so this blocks that from happening. So you'll see, that on a cancer protocol for that very fact, that it helps to block the mTOR and some other genes. But
now, do you do that gene testing to make sure they have it, or they?
I do. Yeah, I do. I do genetic testing. I'm not on everybody. It's not like, I've told you before, the genetics play about 5% of the role of the cancer. But sometimes it's the last little key that we need to get the person completely, restored back to health, optimal health. So we should do a genetic talk one day and talk about, how to get tested and what you can find out from that. If you tried, I only have to do probably less than 5% of the clients I will do the genetic testing on, but those are the ones that, you're doing everything else and they're still not getting the numbers down like you want them to. So then you look at the genetics role. Blood roots. Have you heard of that?
Which one?
Bloodroot.
No.
This is a little bit scary because I've had patients who have taken bloodroot, put it on a large breast tumor, and it pull the tumor out. And that can be dangerous and deadly because it will dive in and it will pull out tissue and organs if the cancer is in the organ. Bloodroot is really essentially designed for skin cancer, superficial skin cancer. So it works really well to take a little small melanoma off, but I would not use it on any type of cancer topically that is large or possibly metastasized, because you can get sepsis from it and die from sepsis.
Now, do you use that in your clinic? Do you ever work with it?
I have worked with it, and I have used it on, people and
Topically?
family, just topically for a little bitty, suspicious looking cancer, skin cancer, and it'll only take it off if it is actual skin cancer. So I have used it. The better thing to do, would be to take it orally. If you have cancer, then it's diluted in the blood, and it does inhibit the growth of new blood cells to tumors. So if you take it orally, but it's got an antimicrobial component to it too. But yeah, I had so many people come in that had heard, I had one lady, I'll never forget. She had a tumor probably about this size in the breast, and she put it all around, and it just took out the whole cavity. And by the time she come there, she was, to come to me, she was sepsis. And so you got to be really careful with some things. They work like a medicine, they are designed to be a medicine. It's not something that you can eat as much of, like even with the B17, you do it by weight, how many pounds you are. And so,
really?
So typically, like I will do 4 to 5 apricot seeds. A cancer patient may do 7 to 8, but no more than that, and maybe only 5 days a week. And so it's very powerful, very powerful.
Wow. I've never heard of the bloodroot.
Oh, really?
No, I've never heard of that. So what else is in your bag of goodies?
Things like CoQ10. It's an antioxidant. Most people know of CoQ10 to help cardiovascular health, and that's something that is true. It helps with, or it's essential for your mitochondria and cell repair. Many types of chemotherapy damage the heart. And so this is something too, if you have a exposure to a virus that causes damage to the muscle or the heart, CoQ10 is something that you would want to take to repair that as well. But it is a really good anti-aging, anti-cancer, supplement. Curcumin or any of the anti-inflammatories, you need to rotate anti-inflammatories. Inflammation, as you know, causes cancer, causes all kinds of cellular breakdown, organ dysfunction. And so inflammation is always our enemy. And so we have to make sure that our inflammation markers, C-reactive protein, sed rate, ferritin, all of those are, within optimal levels. And so I think I shared with you on a past, maybe I can't remember if I did, but I had a patient years ago that had MD, muscular dystrophy. She was young and beautiful and raw vegan. She did everything by the book, amazing, very compliant. So she calls me up one day and she says, Jennifer, I got up this morning and my muscles went weak again. I could barely stand. And her sister has MD as well. Her sister chose to do allopathic way, which they don't really have any treatment for that. So she was in a wheelchair. Well, this lady, she was strong and vibrant and exercising and taking care, even adopted some more children, just a beautiful story. And so, and I knew that she did not cheat on her diet because she would call to tell me if anybody else that she was working with was cheating on their diet. So I said, well, that's strange that you woke up and you've done so good for the last couple of years. And So we tested her, and she showed to have a sensitivity to a food item. And so I ran the food item thinking, oh, I'm about to catch her. And it was avocados. And so, and I said, oh my goodness. I said, have you been eating a lot of avocados? And she says, oh yeah, they're my staple. I eat like 4 to 7 a day because she, was raw vegan. So she wanted to have some good fat. And so because she ate so many, she developed an allergy to it. And now every time she would eat the avocado, it would spark the cytokine storm and go to her muscle. And so, it's a very healthy food if you rotate it. So I took her off of it. The pain and weakness went away. She was back to normal.
Amazing.
But that is how powerful inflammation. So if you have weakened areas, that's where it's going to hit. So if your weakened area is your heart, it's going to hit your heart. If it's, your immune system, your gut, it's going to hit your gut. And most of us have multiple areas of weakness. And so we become this, storm of inflammation and wonder, why we feel so bad. And that's why.
Wow, there's so many. There are when Dr. Jen sent me her list, there were 36 items. So as you know, we're just dipping our toe in here. Is there one, as you look at your list, that you say, okay, I do want to mention, because we only have 5 minutes left. And by the way, all of you who have questions, type in a queue. We'll have 15 minutes after the class to address your questions. So is there anything that you can think of that you really want to talk about?
Probably the top, my top 3 would be graviola. Graviola is an Amazon herb. And back when they did research on it, they called it the cancer bullet. And so graviola is really, I've used it for leukemia, to skin cancer, to brain cancer, and all types in between. So that is one that you should do research on if you're considering. I even used it on my pet who had a tumor form on his her eye, a little Yorkie, and the vet, the holistic vet, told me, oh, you're going to have surgery. It's too large. There's nothing we can do. It's cancerous tumor. So I started putting it into the eye and putting it in her mouth. And within weeks, the tumor was gone. And she did surgery. And then, of course, the broccoli sprouts, I use Bronco Protect and several different concentrated sprout formulas, because the sulforaphane is critical with fighting cancer, not just breast cancer, but all cancers. And then green tea. Green tea is magnificent. It's one of the best antioxidants, but it's one of the greatest cancer fighters out there. And so these are things that you can take, like green tea and broccoli sprouts and, a bowl of wild blueberries, daily. Rotate your berries, daily, but get the wild if you can, because they are like 4 to 10 times more antioxidants and cancer fighting properties in it. So by doing that, you're going to help prevent cancer, because we really need to get to that side of medicine with the rate of cancer and chronic illness in the US. Yes, we still need to focus in on cures, but if we can tip it to the other side, to where we're teaching and educating people, it's not if you're going to get cancer anymore, it's when are you going to get cancer or heart disease. It's an absolute in this environment that we live in. And so, if you haven't already, you're very lucky, but it's coming for all of us if you don't start making some critical changes in your lifestyle. Our lifestyle is what has led to these chronic illnesses. And so, we got to teach our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our family, start there, start in your inner circle, start teaching and start living it yourself, because it's a life or death thing. And it's not to scare people, but it's to wake up the world. You have total control in your outcome in that regard. We don't know when we're going to live or die. That's God's plan. but we don't have to be the master of our own demise by the things that we put in our body or on our body. So.
Yeah. Great advice. I always say, act as if.
Yeah.
Why do you need a diagnosis?
Yeah.
Just act as if.
Right.
As if you have it, because we all have cancer in our body. It's a part of our body, but
Right.
our immune system gobbles it up when it's working optimally. And so, we need to decide, what we want to do. Want to wait to be the victim of it or not? But
Right.
Dr. Jennifer Gramith, thank you so much for coming in the classroom. We're going to meet in the teacher's corner. So podcasters know that there's going to be more information being shared. Thank you. The Rightway Health and Wellness. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so we're going to get started with the questions because we have very limited time today.
Okay.
So there's a question from about water.
Okay.
So would you recommend alkaline water because it destroys cancer cells?
Well, the thing is when you drink alkaline water and it goes into a very acidic stomach, your stomach acid needs to be there to digest your foods for you. Alkaline water, if you look at the studies, really don't make a shift in the blood pH of the individual. And so what does that better actually is greens. A lot of greens and juicing greens will help to alkaline the blood, which is where you want your alkalinity to be, not in the stomach. So I'm not, I love alkaline water just because it's purified, it's clean, but I'm not a huge advocate of alkaline, water as far as the drinking water.
Yeah, there's a lot of caution signs as far as because when you are drinking, I used to drink a lot of water while I was eating. Now I don't drink any water. And so, but when you're drinking alkaline water, you can't drink it like 2 hours after you eat or a half an hour before you eat. It's like crazy.
But nobody's doing that. They're drinking it all day long and they're diluting their natural stomach acid. And so they need more hydrochloric acid, enzymes to break down the foods. And so they're not breaking down the foods in the stomach like they should. And then, that toxicity builds up. So, yeah, I understand the concept of people wanting to be alkaline, but you have to be alkaline in the right area.
That's right.
That's in the blood.
But the stomach is meant to be acidic.
Right.
So it's the food we eat for our body. And I remember it was a Jerry Pollack that came on. He talked about 4-stage water, which is the juicing.
Yeah.
That's the purest form of water, which, like you said, is alkaline. And
right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just so much that we don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sandra asks, what's the best order of events? Gut repair, then detox, or detox, then gut repair? Would you please elaborate and provide additional context?
Well, there's different ways. The Dr. Jen's gut repair program is really utilizing fasting and different mechanisms of fasting into how to repair each system of the body. And so we're all focused in on the gut, but we're focused in on the gut because the gut is connected to the immune and the gut is connected to the brain function. So it's actually a gut brain immune, program, but through fasting. Okay. So there's different ways that you can do it. The mold and mycotoxin, fasting from Dr. Calden is one that I have used for years. And it works really well using antimicrobials, a lot of nutrimetics products.
Yeah.
And that is highly absorbable. So, sometimes even with my fasting program, I might utilize some of those because they're all oral and liquid under the tongue, that I might use that along with the protocol if it's called for.
Yeah. So I would say, you use your own intuition, ask your body what is calling you to do. And I mean, you're going to be doing fasting. And are you doing a keto, or what is it that you're doing?
So no, this is a plant-based, fast. So the initial first week is learning all about intermittent fasting. And so there'll be people doing a 16-8, fasting for 16 hours, feeding for 8. Some will be doing like an 18-6. I'll be doing a 24. And those really diehards will be doing like, a 1 hour of feeding and the rest fasting. So that won't be me.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's for the first week. And then the second week, we get into the juice fasting, which we've done together. And we do a juice fasting program for a week that is all wrapped around gut immune health. And then the third week, we go into a 1 or 3 day water fast. And so if you've never fasted before, I say stick with the 1 day. Excuse me. If you've already fasted 1 day, then go to 2. And if you've done 2, go to 3. I'll be doing the 3 day water fast for that. And then so the rest of the week, we'll go back to the juicing and the plant-based diet. And then the last week is going to be rotating your food, the food rotation plan of what foods go together, what foods, you should eat, not, excuse me. There has been a lot of misinformation out there on rotation diets and what foods go together and what don't. There are certain nutrients you cannot absorb without a healthy fat. And, the old way was, no fats with vegetables. Well, you can't absorb, for instance, beta carotene if you don't have it in a fat. It's a fat soluble type of nutrient. So we're going to talk about all of that, what nutrients, how to get the best optimal absorption, how to prepare them. And it's still going to be more of a 80%, at least an 80% plant-based diet. And some people will stick with that, and other people will go into adding a little bit of animal protein.
That's awesome. Can people do both? Can people go through the fasting with you? And then, because remember, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be teaching as well as the detox. So you could do both. I mean, if you decide that you want to do that, and just to learn so that you have the information with you, you can do both, because they're both affordable. They're both affordable. Now, where the price gets a little higher, and I don't get involved in any of that, is when you do your testing and you do all that. But if you've done your testing, you've done your testing. I'm currently working with companies for discounts and Nutrimetics. I've reached out to them and hopefully get some discounts there. And so there's just so much that's we have to do before we get started. And but there's no reason why they couldn't do yours and then can transition on to just learning with ours, but not in any way conflicting with one another.
No, because I mean, what y'all will be doing with the supplements and the detox will go right along with the type of diet Dr. Cowden would recommend. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want you eating a lot of animal products during, that type of detox. I would take all of my patients off of animal products and dairy, especially dairy, because it's a mucus forming food. And mold and mycotoxins, fungi, they love a mucus forming body. And so you have to take that out of your diet anyway. The only downside is that, which one helped you the most, because you're not going to really know. So, we're going to be doing this at Rightway about every 3 to 6 months. We'll do a month detox. So we'll be doing it again too. This is just a guided, for those of you who are nervous about doing any type of fasting regimen, you're thinking you're going to feel terrible and you're not going to be able to function. It's just to take all of those fears away from you, because it can be a beautiful process. And there are going to be some hard days, but few and far between if you follow the program and do the tips that we tell you when you start to have a little bit of a Herxheimer reaction.
Yeah.
So we will be communicating multiple times a week. We have a live Q&A every week. We have little tips that will be in the portal for you, recipes, juices. We have it all there when you sign up to do that. And you get a video from me every week preparing you for the next week's fast and what to do, what to buy, what how that's going to work.
It's been 2 years since we did ours
Wow.
together. 2 years, because remember you were going to Michelle's wedding.
That's right. Awesome.
And she'll be celebrating 2 years.
She's doing the Dr. Jen's gut. Her and Mark are doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Myrna. Juicing greens for a month and started to experience lower back pain. Could I be having trouble filtering the fiber?
Yeah, it's probably the oxalates in there. So too much greens can build up oxalates that can cause buildup in the kidneys and cause kidney pain. So it's all about the right balance. And so some people genetically cannot handle high levels of greens. It doesn't mean you can't have any greens, but you cannot do massive amounts of greens. And there are certain greens that are higher in oxalates than others. So I would probably have her do different combination of juices and not so many greens.
Okay, that's good. And what about water?
So drinking water, filtered water. I use Berkey, but you got to make sure that you have filtered water.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, another question, and I'm trying to, Judy, you're going to have to help me out. Judy Varga, I read LV, and is that a asterisk RMECT, another asterisk N? Oh, I know what it is now.
Okay. What is it?
Ivermectin.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to that later. We'll use code word. Sorry, you got to be a little bit better. I mean, I'm just reading these fresh. I'm like trying to, let me go to the next one so that
You're a
then
little
I'll ask
slow.
the question and I'll say, remember the previous question? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess they were asking that if it helps cancer.
There are some studies that look like, but it's only the cancers that are connected to parasites. And so high parasitic load that's causing the cancer. So if that's the cancer cause, then yes, it would definitely help along with other anti-parasitic drugs. Dr. Yu, who's the famous parasite doctor here in the US that worked for or was in the Army and was a doc in the Army, discovered all types of parasites from all over the world and its connection with a lot of different chronic illnesses, but definitely with cancer. Mhm.
Okay. What is the best order of events? Gut repair. Oh, okay. That's somebody must have asked that question and somebody must have answered it. Do you have finance for Lymph XP? Financing for Lymph XP?
For the machine, to purchase a machine, we do have a lease to own program. Yes.
Can somebody do this on themselves or?
Yeah, you can learn how to do self-treatment for sure.
Wow. Okay. What are the ulcerative colitis? What about ulcerative colitis? What can you do?
Well, I mean, just think about it. Ulcerative colitis, what does it end with? Itis. So it's an inflammatory disease process. So the first step is to get rid of the inflammation and the symptoms just go away. And the body can heal itself if you get rid of the inflammation. But if you continue to put in the body whatever is triggering the inflammation, that's just your weakened area. That's why it's there. But again, it's going back to identifying those causes of inflammation, removing them, and then giving the body the support it needs, the nutrient support it needs to repair that tissue organ. Ginger is a a great supplement to take for gastric repair, but also ginger is really good for your lymphatic system, to decongest the lymphatic system. So whether you use essential oils and take it orally, or you juice ginger in your juices, or you bathe in a ginger bath, it's all very effective.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
your
I
immune
think we
system.
talked about that last time, where you gave the recipe for
Yeah, the ginger
taking
bath.
soaking in Epsom salt and ginger. What was that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Epsom salts and ginger. You just don't want to go out and get dressed right after that, because you will sweat up to about 45 minutes to an hour after you get out of the bath. That
Yeah.
keep moving.
Okay. So this is from Elias. Baby has eczema since about 3 months old. He is 1 year old. I still breastfeed. Is this his gut? Something I am having that he may be allergic to through my breast milk. I'm surprised that no doctor has addressed that with him.
Yeah. No,
Amazing.
they don't do anything really except topical steroids and things like that. But it's typically a liver gut issue, most definitely. And so it's probably something that was just passed down. So he was born with a weaker. Now it could be something too that because he has that weakness in his liver and gut, when she eats certain foods, it triggers inflammation, and it's in the milk, and he drinks that, and it triggers inflammation in him, and then comes out through the skin. So mom and baby would need, or actually mom, I would start with mom and testing for her allergies and sensitivities to the foods that she's eating, and try to determine if there's something that she's eating that is triggering inflammation first, and then see if that clears it up. And most times it will.
Yeah. It's
So
amazing.
that's
And
tough. Yeah.
wheat and dairy, and so many people just eat sugar. It just, our babies are just have so much toxic overload by the time they're born,
Right.
that they just can't handle all the process. And I see like the tradition of the cake, and I did all this too.
Yeah.
But when you know better, like, the 1 year old eating this big old cake, and here we go, let's create some more addicts.
Yeah.
Okay, so Valerie wants to know, what about hydrogen water?
It's hydrogen is good for lots of different things, but again, you're not trying to kill off all the bacteria in the gut. There's good bacteria, and I guess Dr. Dawson talked about this yesterday. There's good bacteria. There's actually studies showing that women with breast cancer they detected a certain type of bacteria in the breast. And we as functional doctors was trying to get rid of all excess bacteria, not knowing that certain bacteria were killing the cancer. And so there's a lot we still don't know. So it's all about that perfect balance in the mouth and the gut. Just like if you oil pull with coconut oil every day, you're going to disturb the microflora in the mouth to the point that you're not going to have protection. And so you need to use it when you have like a flare up or an infection, use it for a period of time, and then go back to one that's not so antimicrobial, that will kill the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, where the balance is off. Same thing with the gut. You don't want to take a lot of things that will cause so much die off in the gut, especially when we don't know. So the best way to take care of the gut is to get lots of different good bacteria, the probiotics, in your fermented foods. Like I get the fermented beets and the fermented kraut. I put half a cup of that in my salad, and that's my probiotics for the day, so.
Very good. Very good. And I know that we've gone over our time. However, there was a question about what's the best juicer. And I thought this would be a great segue to end with the juicer that you're doing a giveaway. So share a little bit about that.
So the juicer, I have two actually personally at home. It's the Omega juicer. There's some great juicers out there. It's a masticating juicer, which is very important, that you're not heating up your fresh juices to the point that you kill the enzyme benefit. We're trying to get the enzyme. So a masticating juicer is definitely the way to go. And so the omega is the one that I highly recommend. And for those that are doing the program, they're going to be entered in a chance to win a new omega masticating juicer.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So they say that the best juicer to get is the one that you buy. And so, but she's right. You want something that doesn't heat up the juice and keeps it as cold as possible. We have a cold press juicer, which is the Norwalk. I think that's our juicer. Yeah. And we've loved that, but it's just, it's different. You just have to go with what's best for you and what's affordable to you. But what's more affordable than free? Tell us again, how much is your course?
The course is, I think right now it's $299, I believe is what it is now. Then anybody who's from the show, type in Lily 20, you'll get the 20% off of that.
Yes. And go check out shop.rightwayhealth.com and you can find some of the supplements that Dr. Jen talked about today. And again, because I originally said 37.
Yeah.
36. I originally said 36, but I have to correct myself because the Graviola, what was that called? Graviola was not on your list.
Okay.
So we got 37. So there are a lot of things. So make an appointment. You can call Dr. Gramith at 404-474-2100. And you can start your journey to health. There's just so many different ways you can take your health back. And I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Jen, for always coming on and sharing your wisdom so that you can give us all food for thought, that we can make a difference in our own life. We can be our own MD, our own medical detective. Thank you so much. Any final words before we go?
Yep, that sounds great. And just a reminder that the gut repair program includes your products that you'll need for the 30 days. So those are all included in that price. So it's a great opportunity to really learn about the ins and outs of fasting, because we all need to incorporate that into our lifestyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much. September 1st is the date they're going to get started. This is a 6-week, isn't it? 6 week?
30
day. 30 days. 30 days.
And then
after you're done with that, you can just start over with our M3, our M cube detox. So experience. So we will see you soon, and call Rightway Health and Wellness and get started with your